Good evening. Good evening. Welcome. I want to welcome everyone to Blue Table Talk. My name is Tawana Collins Boo, and I'm sitting here with my favorite sidekick, Mr. Arnell Brady, speech, language, and pathologist. And today we're going to be talking about development of I.E.P for students with autism spectrum disorder. And what we're going to be talking about with the development of the I.E.P students with autism spectrum disorder is the 7 points of it. So today, Mr. Brady is going to be talking about the 7 points. So let's start with the first point.
First point, good idea. And as Mrs. Booth has just said, there's 7 considerations, 7 factors that must be considered in the development of a student with autism spectrum disorders. And this was put into effect back in 2008. So it's been going for quite some time. And if you look over the student's I.E.P, you should be able to find these 7 considerations. The number 1 consideration is the verbal and nonverbal communication needs of the child, because communication, of course, is one of the defining characteristics of autism.
Okay.
So when you look at that I.E.P, or when that I.E.P is being developed, it must focus on the verbal and nonverbal needs of the child. That's number 1. Number 2, and you can get a copy of this from the Illinois State Board of Education, and your local school should also have them. The counselor or the special ed coordinator should be able to give the parent a copy. You can also get a copy from the Family Resource Center. The one here on the south side is on 43rd and Cottage Grove at the King Center. But that number 2 consideration is the need to develop social interaction skills and proficiencies.
Okay.
That is, there must be a plan for the child, for the student, to develop social interaction skills and proficiency. The ability of the student to respond to social approaches. Something as simple as good morning, hello, goodbye, those types of things. That's number 2. Number 3 is the needs resulting from the student's unusual responses to sensory experience. And we talked about that last week.
Okay.
We talked about that last week, about lighting and smells and tastes and touch. So in that, because each individual is individual,
right,
and the plan must be an individual plan, it must consider what are the sensory responses of this child to certain senses, certain perceptions, certain experiences. Those kinds of things must be considered in the development of the I.E.P so that they can be addressed. And so you can create an environment where the student is more capable of learning. So that kind of information must be in there. And this is why it's so important for the parent to participate in the development of the I.E.P. I've seen a number of cases where the school has simply said, well, we can do the I.E.P over the telephone, I'll call you, and we'll develop the I.E.P. And the parents, some parents are okay with that. That's not good.
No, that's definitely not good. You definitely need to be present during the I.E.P meeting for your child.
Because the child's response to some sensory, tactile, smell, touch could be different at home than it is at school.
That's
so
true.
The parent must be able to share this information. Then the number 4 consideration is the needs resulting from resistance to environmental change or change in the daily routines. And how many times have you heard of a child who is on the spectrum who's had a teacher change? and the parent all of a sudden says, my child is not acting right. My
Right.
child is acting so different. You have to be able to address these things. Substitute teachers, you have to be able to, how does this child respond to a substitute coming in the room? How does this child respond to new people? How does this child respond to having to change rooms? Those kinds of things.
Those are triggers.
Yeah, those are triggers and must be considered in the development of the IEP, and it has to be individualized. I see so many IEPs that it's like the one shoe fits all. It's the same thing copied over and over and over. We just had a case in which we looked at the last 3 IEPs, and the goal was the same on each one. Some of the goals were the exact same from year to year. Now, that's really a disservice, because if you have a goal and you're unable to achieve that goal, your approach, your procedure, your plan to achieve that goal doesn't work, you need to change the goal.
Yeah, the goal
something needs to change.
The goal definitely should be changed.
Something should be changed.
Not just the date.
Not just
on the IEP. The goal should be changed, and you should also make sure that your child is progressing in that goal. So don't just let them make a goal and the child is not progressing in that goal. So make sure the goal they set, your child reach that goal, and make sure that they're not just repeating the goal every year. Just, okay, this the IEP for 2017, 2018, and it's saying the same thing. Please.
Said the same thing. And this one, I looked at the IEP, the homeroom teacher had the same goal every year. So that was number 4. Number 5, the needs resulting from engagement in repetitive activities and stereotyped movements. And this is considering, some of the kids, some of the students require a fidget toy. Some of the children, I've even seen some of the kids who have strings, or like the one little boy came this morning, he had a key. He had a key that he was just fidgeting with. And you have to be able to take into consideration how the student is going to respond from you taking away that fidget toy. Some kids, you take away that fidget toy, they throw a tantrum.
I was just going to say the rest of the day messed up.
The rest of the day
messed up.
You have to look at those types of things, and they can be and should be included in the IEP, so people who are working with the child will know how to address it. One person might say, oh, give me that key, and take the key away and go into all kinds of fits. Another person might say, well, right now, put the key in your pocket and you'll be able to use it later, or put the key on the shelf, you'll be able to use it later. Or some people might say, well, keep the key, but do your work.
Right.
So those kinds of things must be considered, how the child is going to respond and how the environment is going to adjust itself to the needs resulting from that engagement in repetitive activities and stereotype movements. That's number 5. Number 6, the need for any positive behavioral intervention strategies and supports to address any behavioral difficulties resulting from the autism spectrum disorder. And we have had a number of cases where we have been able to use a behavior board to where we have good and bad behavior on the board, where the child can see the response of the environment. A lot of times we respond to the behavior of the child with behavior that the child does not understand. We might, as adults and teachers, sometimes the child does something, we might pout,
right?
Or we might show some sign of disgust, like, the child didn't pick up on that, so the child thinks that what they're doing is okay.
Yeah.
So we have to be able to have some way of communicating with the child what our response to his behavior is like. And like I said, we've used the behavior board to where if the child does something that is not appropriate for the setting, we can place a bad or not good kind of chip on the board, and the child then have said, well, what's that? Well, this is you not doing the appropriate thing. This is you not behaving. This is you not completing your task. And if you get 5 of these, we're going to have to give you a timeout or something. Something like that.
They don't want no timeout.
They don't want timeout. But you have to be able to have a plan for dealing with the behaviors that might result from the autism, from the child being unable to, say, integrate all of the things that is coming at them in their senses. You know, you have to have a plan that people can share so that you can have this child moving forward as often as possible in the learning situation. So you have to really consider strategies and interventions to help the child overcome any of these difficulties that might be arising from the autism.
Yeah.
That's number 6. Number 7. Other needs resulting from the child's disability that impact progress in the general curriculum, including social and emotional development. What does that mean?
Right, I was just going to say,
okay,
let's break that one down.
A child might have difficulty in executive functioning. That is, the child might have difficulty in organizing themselves to carry out an objective or a goal. A goal as simply as, okay, boys and girls, I want you to take out your books and turn to page 2.
Okay.
Now, that's, some people say, well, that's quite simple. I just get my book and take it out and turn to page 2. Well, for some children, and especially for some children on the autism spectrum, that can be a very difficult thing. What do you do first? You know, do you stand up?
Right.
Do you get somebody else's book? Whose book do you get?
Right.
You know, how do you turn the page 2? How do you hold a book? A lot of those things have to be taken into consideration, because while it is clear to some, it's not clear to all. So you have to have strategies and behaviors that will help that child to organize themselves. And this is why the videos of using the bathroom, videos of going to the store, videos of getting your hair cut has always been very helpful, because they can see every step of the way. They can see the walk to the barber shop, the sitting in the chair, the putting on of the scarf. They can see these things happening and can then not be afraid. You know, if you just say to the child, let's go to the barber, we're going to the barber shop. Well, maybe the child doesn't know what the barber shop is.
Right.
You know, so you have to have some way of explaining these things to the child. And, of course, you also have to make sure that there's not a lot of distracting things that is going to limit the child's ability to comprehend what you are trying to instruct them in, or how you want them to organize whatever task it is that you have. So you have to keep things simple and plain and clear. So those are the 7 things that should be considered when you are developing an IEP for a child on the autism spectrum. And I'll go over them again quickly. And that is, number 1, the verbal and nonverbal communication needs of the child.
Okay.
That's number 1. Number 2, the need to develop social interaction skills and proficiencies. You know, I have so many children on the spectrum who come into the clinic, who just walk in and they want to just go right to do what they want to do. But no, we stop them at the door and we give a greeting and we help them to be able to respond to the greeting. And one of my dads has done a real good thing, and that is when they come to the clinic, he has the child to push the intercom system and to respond, because we'll say, this is a Brady Speech Language Clinic, who is it? And have the child to respond. Some parents will just push and come right on in and bring the child right on. But we have to stop and make sure that this child is developing social interaction skills and proficiencies, be able to announce themselves, be able to greet, and be able to ask others how they are feeling. That's number 2.
Okay.
Number 3, the needs resulting from the child's unusual responses to sensory experiences. And we really covered this last week.
Yeah.
How some sounds, can upset a child.
Mm-hmm.
How some sounds can cause a great distraction in the environment, whereas most people can just ignore the sound. Sight. And smells and things of that nature. And then that was number 3. Number 4, the needs resulting from resistance to environmental change. Woo!
Yeah, that's a big one. That's a big one right there.
Or changes in the daily routines.
We got a lot of viewers tonight. I want to acknowledge some of my viewers tonight. Laverne, thanks for watching. Sylvia, Tamara, my son Jaquan, thanks for watching. My auntie Loretta, Tina Jenkins, Tish Holyfield, thank you for watching. So, all right, we can continue on.
Yeah.
I just wanted to acknowledge we had a whole
lot
of watchers to viewers right now. My brother, Mike, right Hollywood. My brother is watching tonight. So I want to thank you all. My cousin Taisha. I want to thank you all for supporting me. Bobby Smith. Thank you all. Sylvia. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight.
Good. And that last one was the number 4 was the needs resulting from resistance to environmental change or daily routines. Because I remember it was a classic that the dad would drive the same way to the clinic every time they came. But one time there was some construction.
He had to go another way?
He had to go another way. And
the rest of that ride was not nice.
It was not nice. He had not realized that the son had visually memorized the route. Mm-hmm. And everything on that route. And when that route changed, he was kicking and screaming, and the dad said,
because he thinking he going somewhere else. He used to the normal route. This is where we going. Oh, he detouring. He going to another route. So that's what he thought.
It totally threw the dad. Because the dad said, what's wrong? Because the child was unable to say, you changed the route.
Right.
Where are we going?
Right.
So the child just went into a rage almost because the route had changed. He was unable to tell his dad, why are you going a different way? I want to go to the clinic. I want to go there and play. He couldn't say all that. So the dad said, what's wrong? What happened? What's wrong? So they're both at a loss. This is why we have to talk about these things in the development of the I.E.P. And I've seen many kids in the school situation go into a tantrum, become very upset.
Caprice, thanks for joining.
Mm-hmm. Very upset because something has changed. Mm-hmm. Something has changed. I'll never forget where the teacher, one weekend, she spent a lot of money and came in early Monday morning before the kids came to the room, and she fixed up a beautiful bulletin board. It was very nice. Hey, one little boy came in, that bulletin board had changed. Mm-hmm. He wanted that bulletin board that he was used to, so he tore that one down.
Yeah,
and the teacher said, "Why are you doing it?
Yeah.
Why are you tearing my bulletin board? Why?" He really was searching for his bulletin board, the one that he wanted the old one. So this is why we have to talk about these things in the development of that IEP, because we can surely misinterpret the behavior of the child. Okay, and that was number 5. Number 6 is that the need for any positive behavioral interventions. Parents have things that they have developed at home that work. You need to share those with the school, you know. And the teachers have things that they have discovered work. You need to share those with the parents. And how
collaborate.
They need that collaboration is critical. The collaboration between the parent and the child, the caregiver and the provider. Those things have to be talked about. What strategies are working? How do you go 3 years with the same IEP?
No, you can't do it the same goals.
And the parent doesn't even question it.
No. Tamara said Terrell walked out of music therapy because they switched the room during spring break.
Oh, okay. Yes.
So he walked into a new room like, this the wrong room.
This wrong room. This the wrong room. That's right. And so now, and you have to be careful in those situations, because does the teacher punish the child? No.
She can't.
No. But what does she know?
Right.
You know, does she know how he is going to respond to environmental changes in daily routines? Those things have to be discussed, because that's a situation where the child could be punished for leaving the room without permission.
Right. Or not wanting to go in the room.
Or not wanting to go in the room.
That's
not the room. That's not the room. It's not the room. Okay, and so that was number 6. And number 7, of course, is how is the child's disability impacting their ability to access the curriculum?
Okay.
You know, is the child experiencing difficulty with memory, where he cannot hold a lot of information, or information that we would say is appropriate for his age? We have to talk about those things. And I have one child who has strabismus. And so they're trying to use a lot of visual things with the child. Of course, the vision is okay, but the focus is off, because the one eye is going this way, one eye is here, and so the child is seeing blurry in one and doubled. And so those type of things have to be discussed, because sometimes the child has more than just autism.
Yes, that's true.
Sometimes the child has more than just autism. So we have to take into consideration how those things can impact, with the combination of autism, how they can impact the child's ability to access the curriculum and to learn the materials. So those are the 7 things, and I said you can get a copy of those from the Illinois State Board of Education. You can also get a copy of those from the Family Resource Center there on 43rd and Cottage Grove, the King Center.
Yeah.
You know, and even your local school, you should be able to get those types of things, because they should be aware of these considerations as well. This information should be common and shared among all.
Yeah, because it's very important, you know, like we just discussed the 7 points that, you know, we reiterate these things inside the child's IEP to help them grow and make sure that the parent and the school is collaborating with each other for the best for the child. So that's why these 7 points is very important. And please make sure that, you know, parents, we all attend the IEP meetings and make sure that the goal is not staying the same and, you know, just the years changing, and make sure the goals that they set, that your child is meeting their goal and progressing in those goals. So every year those goals could get better. Those goals are changing and not just a year. So those 7 points, we hope you all enjoy this Blue Table Talk today. And thanks, Shalonda, for joining us today. And I want to send a good luck to Jada Thompson on Miss Amazing Crown competition at the Nationals this weekend. So good luck, Jada. We are rooting for you to win. Bring that crown home. So good luck. So So, and also again, I want to ask everyone. I know I got 200 family and Facebook friends. I want to ask you all to go to my YouTube page, Tawana Boo, because I want to go live on YouTube with Blue Table Talk. So if you all can go to my YouTube page, Tawana Boo, and hit that subscribe button, and also like a video so I can get my numbers up. I really appreciate everyone who went to my YouTube page and subscribed, but I still need some more numbers. So if you all go right now or whenever you get a chance to subscribe to my channel, I really appreciate it. And if you all want any of these good services, you all could come to Brady Speech, 5228 South Blackstone Avenue in Chicago, or you can call 773-493-4000. Also, if you want to reach me, All Families United, 1708-320-9018. And also, if you want to go to any other organization's page to find out any upcoming events, you can go to CAC, Chicago Autism Land Connection. You can go to A Place for Me. You can go to the Answer Inc. You can go to Uniquely Autistic. And we are all autism organizations out here doing things, family events, and you can go to each one of our pages and find out what's the next event we got going on. But we want to thank you all for tuning in to Blue Table Talk, and we'll see you all next week.
Right before you sign off, there's one other thing I just would like to add.
Okay.
And that is that the United States House of Representatives passed the Autism Act.
Okay.
Because the current one expires in September of this year, which is about a month and a half away.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to the Senate now to be passed. And the thing about this and how it has changed, it is now changed in the sense that most of the Autism Act address the needs of school-age children with autism. But now it's addressing the needs of people on the autism spectrum across the lifespan.
Okay,
so for the first time,
yeah,
you know, there's going to be considerable amount of money spent on research, on intervention programs, on resources for people with autism who are beyond the school age. So we want to keep an eye on that because it's right now probably being debated in the Senate to be passed, because they have to pass it by September when the old one expires. But I just wanted to
and we'll talk more about it next week. We will bring it up next week, and we will talk more about the Autism Act that they trying to pass, which is a great idea. So we'll speak more about it next Thursday on Blue Table Talk. Karen, thanks for joining. Mary, Mikhail, thank you all for joining. I had a good audience tonight, so I really appreciate it. So tune in next week, and we'll look forward to seeing you all, and I appreciate y'all. Good night.